and they got close to the what they call the Hive Queen, bust that bitch in the head, and then they went and did a broken mirror spell on the crossroad, right? And the broken mirror spell was the spell to break up the sisterhood of the Sibyls, right? That they were a different sisterhood than the Gorgons who set up Greece, and but that's what happened to the Sibyls. That funky crotch, rotten crotch, bust down chick throwing conjure spells has kept the Sibyl queens from reforming because nobody would make that slut close the conjure. So part of the work was I made her close that motherfucking conjure. So she closed that motherfucker because I wasn't going to stop pounding her motherfucking emotional chakras, her heart chakra and her throat chakra and her brain chakra till she motherfucking reversed the goddamn conjure. Because the same motherfucker that did the conjure is the same motherfucker got to undo it. When I was found the priestess from Haiti, I thought I was done. I wasn't done. I had to find Tucson. Now I got to find Bookman. But one of the people on here already know who the Bookman is reincarnated. I just haven't did the analysis yet, but I'm going to be doing it over this week because I got to know the basic understanding of how to find the Bookman in this era. Shit, that motherfucker might be me. The way shit look. I hope it ain't because I'm tired of being every motherfucker I don't want to be. If I start coughing, it's not a cold. It's the chronics. Just so y'all know. Smoking that icky or the sticky. Somebody had requested to join where they must have unsubscribed. So back to Garvey. Wait a minute, let me see what else in here. Wakanda is Haiti. Actually Haiti and Dominican Republic. And that's Wakanda. And what they call in Wakanda, they call it I forgot the name of the metal. But that shit is in Haiti. It's the same shit. Right? Why don't bitch ass Nutter don't lock in with you? They don't want truth. They want money. I never had a conversation with Nutter. I never watched none of his stuff either. I just was never. That wasn't my direction to study. So I don't know nothing about them dudes. So if I tell you what they want, then I'm just lying because I don't know shit about them because I'll never watch them. The only one I know of is General Seti, who Young Pharaoh used to be with, and he the fucking truth. So rest of them cats, I don't really know nothing about them like that. Yeah, so you mentioned Mary Scott, who, when they say Mary, they got y'all thinking that they always referring to somebody's name. And they not always referring to the name. When they be saying Mary, they be calling them a rebellious woman because they don't want to go along to get along with the bullshit. So they name her Mary or they call her Mary. And now, when the children being born and they naming girls Mary, she already born with that fire to overthrow the old system because she in her psyche and her subconscious mind, if she ever been here before, she know they making fun of her by calling her Mary. But we think that that's a good name to have because somebody named Jesus had a mama named Mary, which was a mockery. Remember, it was more than one Mary. And they called all of the women around him Mary because they was the rebellious ass to the system. They was your Asada Shakurs of the day, your Angela Davises, your motherfucking Afeni Shakurs, your motherfucking Maxine Waters. Those were the ones that they was calling Marys or Miriam. And this was the reason why a lot of people don't have a proper understanding of what the text is saying. Because when you read it in the Greek and you take the J out of the discussion, you got a whole different story. Because it's telling you a story about somebody else. Now they try to make it say Jesus or Yazus. That's not what it say in Greek. In Greek, it's Iesous. It's Isis. So when you're reading the story, you're reading the story about Isis, and every time they telling you about her as a mother, they calling her Mary, because they said she gave birth to her son without the aid of the man, so that he can have both the mitochondrial right of the women and the Y chromosome right of the males to rule. All he got to do is be on a straight bump. And then the one that raised him, who in this case we talking about Nenegajita, who was raised by Enki as his father. But the story, y'all know the story best as the story of Loki, the son of the Ice Princess, who was adopted by the old man, and his half-brother Thor, who was the old man's actual son, had usurped him for the throne. In this case, the old man's son, who's masquerading as Thor, is actually his brother masquerading as his son in the story. Because Thor is trying to take the place of Shango in the pantheon, and so he wielded the hammer. The hammer, if you go back to Ragnarok, the opening scene, you will see who the real pure one is, and they call her name Lilith. I'm just saying, I didn't make that shit up. Okay, let me do this. Always at the bottom, and as I read these questions. When this live in, Christine, I'm gonna call you, sweetie. Uh, there's variables to interpreting symbolism. So just because you've seen a white horse on the side of your house is insufficient data to really tell you what it means. All I could do is refer you to the general meaning of the white horse, which is conquer and conquest. Is genealogy necessary to reclaim the land? Yeah, you got to have the blood, because the blood is tied to the earth through mitochondria. And if you don't have the blood, you can't exercise the right to your status to reclaim the land. The Epic of the Atrahasis, were they referring to the God of Islam, because he had brothers and sisters, but not a god, but a demigod. That his sacrifice for stop working the earth, he was sacrificed using his blood and bones, creating humans to finish the task. Yeah, so this in the Holy Tablets too, and it talks about the one who rebelled, and how they used his blood to create humans. The Lulu Amalu, the primitive worker. Now that was the first creation. This wasn't the genetic defect. This was Enki work, and the Anunnaki, whose blood they used, they didn't actually murder him, but they actually used him as a stud to make children. But in the story, because he didn't want to enter and cohabit with the earth women, the sacrifice that he was making by being forced to copulate with them, the Anunnaki likened it unto death. So it was as if they murdered him. But his blood, let's look at the story of Genghis Khan and what percentage of the male population of the earth, or the human population, can trace back to him. The blood of Fatima is the blood of the righteous. And what they're talking about is the daughter of Muhammad, right? And that was one of his daughters. And so she was born, and she was righteous, and she was raised and taught hands-on by his wife Khadijah. And Mother Khadijah, in the reverse, was taught hands-on by Clara Muhammad, who represented the prophecies of Fatima that was given to the kids down in South America. And oh man, but that's a compliment. But I don't look like him. What does the Japanese government shutting down mean? That's Anu land. It's not so much the government shutting down that you needed to be looking at. It was the the layout of the room because it's a temple. When you look at the layout is a very specific temple. And if you know what temple it is, then you halfway through the struggle of figuring out what's going on with Japan. Why did the Japanese government step down? Japan is not the only government to step down. You got something called the Big Quit taking place in America, and y'all don't even know the sheer number of senators and congressmen that's retiring. They just retiring, walking out the office and not coming back to work, but it's not hitting the mainstream media, so y'all don't know about it. You know, but you can look up how many senators and quit and congressmen didn't quit in the last 2 years, and your mind gonna fucking be blown. So it's heads of state all over the world stepping down. Governments as whole governments is falling apart because it's the close of the age. So at the close of the age, everybody got to pay for their dirt, and these governments did the dirt, and now they have to surrender the government to the mercy of the people. So this is what you're seeing. Well, if you had some specific questions, Grandmaster Bay, about the hoodoo and voodoo, we definitely could talk on it because I'm with the voodoo. Okay, now I think all my questions caught up. I got some new ones. What's next? Do you think there'll be a civil war soon? There ain't no reason for no fucking war because the enemy surrendered when I kicked their ass. Right? So there's no reason for a civil war. I mean, if you have anything resembling a civil war, it's going to be us cleaning up after the motherfucking destruction of Mother Nature. That's probably going to be the civil unrest that you see in the Civil War. But in the grand scheme, there's no cause or no need for a civil war. This shit is over with. We finna put this shit the way it go and get out these sisters' way so they can go on here and clean this shit up. Get this earth back where it's supposed to be. No, I don't see no civil war coming. I see a bunch of scare tactics to keep you subjugated, though. Well, not only by using the different numerals that they changed the timeline, but they rewrite history by giving us a different history than actually happened, but something similar that we can relate it to, so that we can't know exactly what they was doing. And that's why Noble Drew Ali is important. That's why Marcus Garvey important. That's why Prince Hall important, because they the ones who's telling us, hey, these motherfuckers trying to keep y'all trapped in this motherfucking brain lock. Okay, listen, it's called, when you want to know why Lilith was a powerful woman. If you trying to subdue or suppress matriarchy, suppress the actual true power of women, it's the same thing that they did with us by painting all the guys pale. It's the same shit. When they tell you, well, they don't really like to talk about her, first of all. They don't want to talk about Lilith. And she was more like Adam Babysitter with his dumb ass than she was like a wife. And she got tired of that dumbass box of rocks that she had to sit there and nurse so that these rotten ass motherfuckers won't start creating shit. And they got mad and had an argument. They kicked her out of the program. But she wasn't with that bullshit. Adam wasn't nothing but a big ass motherfucking autistic lump of mud to her. He was, horrible. No, African guys, Egyptian guys, the American guys, the Asian guys, the Australian guys, the original ancient ones was all the same guys with different cultural attachments. See, you looking at, now, what happened was two priesthoods went to war. The priest loyal to Enki and the priest loyal to Enlil. And they had a conjure war, and here we are kicking their ass in the Badusi about their conjure, weak ass conjure they had. They, thought that they was going to keep a motherfucker perpetually subjugated with that shit. It didn't work. minutes left, so I can take the mammary gland. Now pay attention. The Kufi and the yarmulke is imitating the mammary gland. Do you understand why? Your George Jetson hats. They want to be sure that you pay attention to the spinner is the pasty. The yarmulke is the mammary gland. Because the wisdom is fed to the child from the mother. It is symbolic of them having the wisdom of the mother being absorbed as to suck it from the mammary gland, but it's upside down and backwards. I think you have to let that marinate for a minute. The yarmulke and the kufi mimic the areola on the mammary gland. That's why them bald head motherfuckers still wear them. That's not to cover their bald spot. The little button on it is the nipple, right? They exaggerated in George Jetson with the spinner wheel because they wanted to look like the pasty on the tassels on the dancer's breast to make sure you understand what you're looking at. But we got lost in the symbolism and we didn't pay the sign no attention. You dig? And so we predicate everything up on our religious faith, our political doctrine, social structures, and all of these things. But when the social structure is out of balance, all of the people become out of balance. What do you do when you're out of balance? You stagger. So we not walking through life, we staggering through life. Walking in the trance. That's why they call them zombies. The trance is the ignorance of the self, while the artificial ego that was created by external forces molded you into what you are. So now they're looking at you externally, right? And they got you looking on the outside of you to define what you are that can only be defined from the inside of you. So you have to define yourself internally. Now, as you grow older, you hear people talk about they have voices in your head. That's your ancestors. That's everybody that taught you lessons in your life. All that shit just going on at one time because you don't know how to still the mind. That's meditation. You so busy praying, running your goddamn mouth that you can't listen. You got to learn to listen the same way as you learn to talk. You didn't just come out talking English. You had to learn the language. You had to learn the facial expression that go with the word. You had to learn to speak in a certain manner with a certain diction over a period of time. It's the same way spiritually. You have to learn to communicate with yourself spiritually if you wanted that spiritual inner self to spill into the outer world. This is what we have to do. This is the connection that we get through the mother line in a matriarchal system. It's an automatic connection because the mother raises the children in a manner that would be different if he was raised. The father still got a primary role in the life of a child to take care of a child, especially a boy, and teach him how to be a man and show his daughters how a woman is supposed to be treated. If the father don't treat his daughter in a certain way with a certain reverence, when she go out in the street and her self-esteem is low, she's going to accept whatever treatment she get. But if the father gives his daughter the impression of how she's supposed to be treated, well, my daddy didn't slap me upside the head, motherfucker, then how the fuck I'm going to let you? She's not going to tolerate it. It's outside of her norm. It's going to upset her norm to the point where she will not accept it. This is the way that we raised children before this motherfucking imposter came in here and fucked us up. We good with that. Another news report I got to give y'all is about the Moors. Because I was about to go in on their ass, but the good Moors didn't understand what the fuck was going on. That means they haven't been doing their studies correctly. So I had to stop and I had to bag up off the motherfucking Zionists that don't really understand. There was not the police killing Noble Drew Ali. That was not the police that was beating him. Those were what you call Zionist Moors that wanted him to give back what he earned. He can't give it back. You can't give this part of who you... are. So they tried to beat me. Then you got to teach them what kill time mean. That mean when you don't want to do nothing, right? And you don't want to learn nothing and you just want to shut off, that's killing time. Because the time is unproductive. So you do unproductive shit at the unproductive hours. But during the productive hours, you just do productive shit. Producing shit. Don't tell me you know God and you ain't doing no God shit. Just saying. I mean, you said you God. I don't see you doing no God shit. What the fuck do gods do that men don't do? First of all, you got to figure that part out. Dig? If you don't know what the gods do that the men don't do, then you can't never figure out how to be a god. Because you can't distinguish a man from a god. That's what these niggas be saying. They God. God body. Right? I'm saying, how long you niggas been God? Like a week? A couple years? A couple months? How long you motherfuckers been God? Well, how long does it take God to do some shit in the physical world? You know? I mean, I don't have no problem with a motherfucker saying he God. That's how, if he can identify with it. But remember, if you identify yourself as doing God, you have an obligation to yourself to try to ascend into the thinking of God. You have to move your mind from the thinking of a man into the thinking of God. So first of all, you have to start asking yourself, how do God think? If all this shit happening to us, what? Why in the fuck God ain't helping? It gotta be a reason. So how do I find this reason why God ain't getting this motherfucker foot off my neck? Maybe I ain't looking in the right places. I'm only looking in the church. They don't even really understand God in the church. Because they still think a motherfucker gonna surf out of the motherfucking sky on the cloud and come rescue their ass, but they book don't tell them that. I don't know where they got that shit from. That's called cultural association. I gotta give you something to link it to, visual imagery or some shit, but that shit is retarded. But, you know, that's not my lane. I mean, they got some good people in the church. They just misled good people. They got good people in the mosque. They just some misled good people. Synagogue too. Some good misled motherfuckers. Got the motherfuckers in the gangs. They misled motherfuckers. You know, but we about to lead all these motherfuckers right. You know? You got all these people doing all this work. Why you got all these idiots twiddling their fucking thumbs and they're not paying attention? Sometimes all you gotta do is pay attention and then you'll know your position. Right? If you pay attention, you'll know what's missing when you look. I watched the women. My mom was laying in there in the living room in her last days. And I would watch the women fixing the meals over those days. And they was females that had never been in the kitchen together before. They never been in the kitchen at the same time. Ever in their life, they never been in the same room at the same time. But they all know my mama. That's their connection. They from different parts of the family that don't normally associate because they from different parts of the family. Like these people was in-laws to the cousin and these people friends to the in-laws and shit like that. But my mama knew them all. So they in the kitchen fixing these meals. I did not hear not one person bumping into nobody. I'm sitting there watching this shit like they dancing a motherfucking group steppers ball or something as they move and weave through each other without saying a word. I'm watching it and then I'm looking around. I'm wondering to myself, does anybody see this ballet taking place in front of our face? And I noticed that I was the only one looking at it. I was the only one noticed it. Then I started to query myself on, what is this? How did these women do this? They never cooked in the kitchen together before, but ain't nobody getting stabbed with the knife, poked with the fork. Ain't none of that shit going on. And there's too many of them in the kitchen. It's too many. It should only be one or two cooking for the size of the kitchen. They got like 6 or 8 women in here, and they trying to weave a blanket or something the way they moving up in this motherfucker. And ain't nobody bumping into nobody. You don't hear no excuse me's or none of that. They passing shit without nobody saying, I need an onion. She said, here, take this onion over there. And here, give her that bell pepper. And how the fuck she know what they need? She not even cooking the same dish. But they all knew. Everybody knew automatically because they following the matriarchal layout. They following the matriarchal layout. You don't have to tell them what to do in the kitchen. When they in that energy, the energy is just gonna move them around like the old football pieces when the board used to vibrate and everything get to moving. That's what the energy do, and they get to moving them around like that, and it just works. That's nature. That's how nature is. See, the women might start off dancing a little off, then one of the elder women to come and slap that ground with that foot, boom, and hit her hips one time, or shook, and then all of them be synced. Be done. Mama came home. You know, so this is where we at with this. This is and they formed what they called the 21 brick pyramid. When you go around Stones in Chicago now, they got this thing where they say 20 mo because one brick gone. No, it ain't. It's coming home. If you don't believe me, ask Malik. It's sorry about that, y'all. My phone ringing for the interruption again. So, that brick, that was a young man by the name of Larry Hoover. Larry Hoover ended up becoming real good friends with David Barksdale. At that time, he was the king of the Disciple Nation. Oh, yeah. Sister Santos, you're absolutely correct. You talking about those women in the Cosby case. You're right on that. They was gold diggers, but not all of them. Some of them did it under threat. Some of them did it under threat. Okay, and let me see what my sister Jillian say, because she's a little deeper into it, because yep, you're right, Jillian, it does go much deeper. Just because somebody have a particular skin tone, that don't automatically make them right, because let's deal with, well, we ain't gonna deal with that right now. That's another topic for another video, and I'll go into the skin thing and divide and conquer and the devil's techniques. But right now we're talking about the leaders. Now Larry Hoover and Jeff Ford, these dudes is friends to this day. You got to remember that when you understand that the enemy used divide and conquer as the tool to break everybody down, not just black people, but everybody. We catch it worse because of who we are in this particular era in time. They was trying to stop it because they felt that under the shadow era of the Zodiac, that they could gain enough power in this era that when the word come in the changing of the guard, they can have a resistance. It's not going to work. So Jeff went on with David as a gangster disciple, black gangster disciple, and he left Jeff, right? But Jeff told Larry something, and that ain't my place to tell this business. Even though I wasn't there, I know what he told him, but I can't tell y'all. Larry have to tell the disciples and the Stones what Jeff told him, and Jeff ain't gone. He have to tell the Stones and they got to tell it together in order for the people to understand what they was trying to do. Because when you have to divide and conquer, you have to deal with your enemy from a scattered direction. You can't come to them in one direction in one force. You have to come from what they call a collateral or multilateral attack. So Jeff was more like stern in his position, more militant. He was more Panther-like. Well, Larry was more like, look, man, I'm going to get this bread. I'm going to teach these dudes to be industrious and organize these businesses. And, you know what I'm saying? Y'all go over there, y'all build the strong arm. So they went their separate ways. Now, then a whole bunch of police propaganda come down about gang wars and shit. They putting this shit all on the news. This is to incite these young men to go against each other. Not Jeff and Larry, because they know what's up. But the ones that's not close enough to them to get the correct information. So, now,
I'm not going to stay on them too long because I got to deal with H. Rap Brown. I watched the trial. If y'all don't know who he is, Imam Abu Jamal Al-Amin, look him up. H. Rap Brown was his former name. The trial was a farce. I watched the trial, and watching the trial, I'm telling myself there is no way that they calling this shit evidence. There's no way they're going to convict this man. There's no way they're going to convict this man. The stuff they call in evidence actually is exonerating him, so there's no way that they should be able to convict him. They gave him 20-something years in prison. Right? Now, let's go to Big Meech. They say Big Meech is one of the biggest drug dealers in the country, and that they had to get him off the streets because he was a menace to society. Now, this is where the weighing of justice, this is where the balancing of the scales take place, because you get to determine if Big Meech done something actually wrong. Iran-Contra, your president, Ronald Reagan, your vice president, George H.W. Bush, and one of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Oliver North. What were they doing in Iran-Contra? They were selling dope. Where was they selling it at? California, New York, Michigan, Florida, Louisiana, everywhere dope was being sold in America in the 80s. When the crack epidemic hit, was part of the Iran-Contra. Well, what was the basis of Iran-Contra? When you go back and review it, you'll find this is what was going on. When Jimmy Carter was president of the United States, some kind of way Iran ended up with some American hostages off of an airplane, and they was holding them for negotiation purposes with America, because America had some oppressive stuff going on behind the scenes. Now, sidebar, at this time that this is going on, right, America has just installed a guy in Iraq by the name of Saddam Hussein, who was in exile in the Sudan, minding his own business. The CIA sent operatives to get him from the Sudan and to put him in the house. Well, in ancient Islam, it would be called the family house, or Lil Bait, when Muhammad ruled. But since the imposters is there, they can't call it that, because it's not the true Alil Bait. It's not the true house of the faithful. So they put up Saddam Hussein in power to have a point man in the Middle East. America did that. He didn't come up on his own merit. America put him in power. Remember that. Now I got to go back to Iran-Contra, because this is directly affecting Big Meech, Freeway Ricky Ross, every major drug dealer that they claim out of New York or anywhere. This also affects Harry O. Iran-Contra gave all these lifers the dope. They were acting on behalf of the government of the United States unknowingly. Now, in law, this is a violation of United States Code, I think it's 1986 color law, which say nobody should go under the color of law, represent themselves as a government personnel to commit a crime. Well, they did it. Under the conspiracy, it becomes a conspiracy when you involve people knowingly or unknowingly in this plan. So everybody they gave a conspiracy, they don't mention they co-conspirators, because they co-conspirators was your government. They can't put the government on trial in front of y'all. They got to do it behind the scenes. I'm going to put the government on trial in front of y'all. In about 9 to 10 months, we're going to use Amendment 2 of the U.S. Constitution, redress of grievances, to address all our grievances to Congress, because that's what the treaties say. That's what the treaties say. This ain't their land, and this ain't America. They got y'all tricked. This land is called Amur Inca. And what they told y'all is Africa is Afar Inca, right? Now you can look those terms up, and you'll find in Africa you got a tribe called the Afar. Over here you had a tribe, they call them Olmec, but they was Amur. And they call them Olmec because of the tribe land that they lived on, was named Olmec, but the people were called Amur. So now you see people talking about Moorish law. This all related. So now when we get to Big Meech in there, they got him serving all this time. The boy ain't did nothing that the government didn't facilitate. The government done that to Big Meech. They gave him the dope. They let him make the money. When he made the money and he started to, they couldn't figure out why this young black man with all these soldiers and ain't nobody dropping no information. They couldn't figure it out. So finally they end up getting somebody in there, and I'm not going to say no rappers like Jeezy name or nothing, and I'm not going to tell nothing. That ain't none of my business. Meech will tell you, though. Meech will tell you who told on him. Meech will tell you who the undercover agents is. And before I go any further in this video, make sure y'all go back and watch Lawrence Fishburne's movie Deep Cover, because this is how they trick all these men into getting caught up in their system. They send other men that look like them, deep cover, black or white, it don't matter. They dress you up like a biker and send you into Hell's Angels. Hell's Angels, man, Hell's Angels business. They don't mess with civilians. Hell's Angels, they don't bother civilians. So why do the government give them shit? They can't control them. Any element that the false government can't control, it tries to destroy it. And so how do we get these leaders out? If you put one leader ahead of the rest of them, you lose. They got to all be there together. Every political prisoner have to be brought up with the grievance of the political prison. Show the connection of the government with the act. What is Jeff Ford in there? Why is this brother in there all these goddamn years and don't nobody know how to get him out? It's real simple. Nobody is showing what he was doing and why he was doing it. They only showing you the end result that the government wants you to see. Now, let's talk about government. The very word government means mind control. Govern, control, mentis, mind control. So this is not really a real government of the people, for the people, by the people. This is a mind control government. They telling you right in the word, we're going to control your mind. We're going to govern your mentis. So the next thing we have to do is we have to figure out, okay, well, where's the power coming from? And how is these motherfuckers staying in power? Staying in power by your silence. By collective silence, we collectively agree. That's called a tacit agreement in law. A silent agreement in law. Tacit. Look it up. T-A-C-I-T. A tacit agreement. That means you agreed to something by not objecting to it. The only thing you have to object to is wrongdoing. You never have to object to somebody doing the right thing to go ahead and do it. But if somebody is doing something that's wrong and somebody is trying to draw you into their wrongdoing and you don't object and you go along with it, but you don't want to do it, but you still go along with it, that's called a tacit agreement, a silent agreement. So us, whether we Stones, Disciples, Crips, Bloods, don't matter what we is, we got to realize one thing: the persecution of the leadership is a systematic method of oppression. It's called Hellenism. Look it up. Hellenism. Now, the best part about Hellenism is they tell you what it is. Georgetown University History of the World. It's a blue book. Look to the index and go to Hellenism and look up every part they talk about it, and they're going to break it all down. Well, who in the hell is Helen? Helen was the name of a Greek deity. Now watch what they did. Originally in Greece, Helen was a man. But they want to take matriarchy out of the picture and replace it with patriarchy. So how do they do that? When the Romans take power, Helen became a woman. Helen became a woman because they wanted to disgrace her, but they also wanted to exalt the original Helen, the man. So this is when they say hell on earth is Hellenistic doctrine. We following Hellenistic doctrine. This is hell on earth. Hellenistic doctrine. Now, under Hellenism, when you have a leader that you can't control, a Shaka Zulu, who was actually reincarnated in Chicago as what we call him Jeff Ford or Chief Malik. That was Shaka Zulu in his past life. He might not remember in this one. He was Shaka Zulu. That's why he don't fucking bend. That's why he been in that single man cell all these years and they can't fucking break him. So y'all want to know what happened to Shaka? Shaka Zulu is in Colorado Max right now. So if you are a brother, sister over in the motherland and you want to know where the Shaka at, he is in Colorado Max over here in Amur Inca. I'm coming to get him. All right, so now the next thing is this. So now we understand who's who and what's what in this leadership game that they playing. So now what do they do under Hellenism? They take the leader that they can't control, they neutralize him in either of several ways. See, they're not authorized to personally kill him. So what they do is they can pay one of his own people to kill him. They can appeal to their sensitive troll, a Shaka Zulu, who was actually reincarnated in Chicago as what we call him Jeff Ford or Chief Malik. That was Shaka Zulu in his past life. He might not remember in this one. He was Shaka Zulu. That's why he don't fucking bend. That's why he been in that single man cell all these years and they can't fucking break him. So y'all want to know what happened to Shaka? Shaka Zulu is in Colorado Max right now. So if you are a brother, sister over in the motherland and you want to know where the Shaka at, he is in Colorado Max over here in Amur Inca. I'm coming to get him. All right, so now the next thing is this. So now we understand who's who and what's what in this leadership game that they playing. So now what do they do under Hellenism? They take the leader that they can't control, they neutralize him in either of several ways. See, they're not authorized to personally kill him. So what they do is they can pay one of his own people to kill him. They can appeal to their sensitivities or use threats of force, but one of his own got to do it. They can't do it or they'd have done it. Remember that. If they could have killed Larry, he'd have been dead. If they could have killed Malachi York, he would have been dead. They're not allowed to. It's against the rules and they know it. They don't tell us the rules. They know it. If they could have killed Chief Malik, he'd have been dead. They're not authorized to push that button. Only one of us can do it. And we not going to do it. They not authorized to kill Big Meech. Only one of us can do it. They not authorized because they don't have the blood, which is another video, Bloodlines of the Holy Grails and the Knights Templar, the Orisha and the Irish. That's a whole nother video. Remember that. That's going to be coming up later. So now, they take our leaders out of position, and then what they do, they install a puppet. They install somebody that look like you, walk like you, talk like you, act like you, came from you, but they put the words that they want him to say in his mouth. They control where he go on earth. They control how long he can stay married, who he marry, because there's certain women he ain't allowed to marry because they'll wake his ass up. Don't matter what race she is, it's certain women that these men in power are not allowed to marry because she will wake, when that love shit hit, it's going to wake his ass the fuck up. That mitochondrial is the most resonating force known to mankind. When that shit wake up in a wise man, a man of valor, Rajneesh or Osho says it best. A wise man is a fire, alive. No society wants you to be wise because you can't oppress them. You can't oppress them. Okay, now, so let's get into this. What do we got to do to get these leaders back in a position to heal our sick people? We sick, y'all. I'm not excluded. Don't get me wrong, I'm not excluded, but I know how to heal. And I know how to help heal. That's what I'm here for. I'm not excluded from being one of these sick people. Don't ever get that twisted. I'm not excluded. I'm sick too. We all need to be healed. Mama gonna heal us when she get here. Trust me. We all gonna be changed, whether we want to or not. And anybody that refuses to change is gonna be forced to change in the form of death. Mama don't play. Check your mind. She gonna be with you all the time. Now, that being said, the first thing we got to do is catalog our leadership by group. In other words, every leader that is considered a political prisoner needs to send me somebody that represent him so that he will have a voice when we vex these grievances under the Second Amendment in Congress. They got to answer. They do not know. I know what they know and what they don't. So when they see me, they're going to laugh. Expect it. When I present the paperwork, they're going to say, who wrote it? Understand me? So we got more leaders persecuted than just the black ones. More leaders persecuted than just the black ones. Y'all got to remember that, because these white people sick of this hate shit too. They fed up with it. They got signs all on Facebook. White people tired of this hate shit too. You can't, but the problem is this, and this is what y'all don't know. Everything look white ain't white. Visit J.A. Rogers. Study carefully the history. Everything that look white ain't white. Everything that look black ain't for you if you black. Everything that look Hispanic is not for you if you Hispanic. Everything that look human, not necessarily human. This is all known in the secret chambers, so they don't tell the public. Why they don't tell the public? Because they said y'all was mindless drones that can't think for yourself. So you catalog your leaders, and they each have to have a delegate, a representative that represent, to say a quantity, the number. Because you have to have a census of leadership, and then all the leaders got to come together. They ought to all be on the same page. We can't have Jeff saying fuck Larry and Larry saying fuck Jeff and Malachi saying fuck both of them. It won't work. Because we coming out of the divide and conquer. The leadership got to be on the same page. The next thing we need is a particular platform. Now, I wasn't too thrilled until I went back and did the review of who I was told that I had to directly contact in order to fix this. Okay. Farrakhan. I done reached out to him, and right now he doing all his due diligence, background checks, trying to find out who this motherfucker is and where he came from, and he's sending fruit over here and fruit over there to try to find out where this paperwork come from that he sent me and what it really mean. If anybody know Farrakhan that's watching this or know somebody that know him, tell him this. Elijah Muhammad taught me personally through a radio head. If he need me to take him to the radio head, I can do that. Remember that. He'll know exactly what I'm talking about, and all members of the nation know what I'm talking about. Now, people gave Farrakhan flack for getting away from the original doctrine of Elijah Muhammad. I can't give y'all the reason for that until I talk to minister, but it's the reason. Everybody gave him flack about L. Ron Hubbard and Dianetics. And I can't tell y'all right now why he was sent to L. Ron Hubbard until after I talked to him, but it's a reason. Also, they gave him flack about the beloved Khalid Muhammad. That brother brings tears to my eyes because I miss him. And I wish I could talk to him. But here's the situation. I'm not the one who has to tell y'all why Farrakhan had to distance himself from Khalid. That's not my place. I'd be disrespectful and rude to do that. But it's a very good reason. And if you're not really sure what I'm talking about, all you got to do is peep the relationship with a father and a son break down. So I'm not going to get into that. That's not my job. But Farrakhan will know that I know the real reason he had to distance himself from Khalid. He didn't really know how to do it, and he didn't want to do it. And us looking onlookers, we never knew. I'm going to tell y'all this. Farrakhan don't know I watched him do this. He don't know I was watching. because he was in his room. And I was in prison. But I'm watching him crying that he have to get rid of this brother. He needed that help bad. So if y'all don't want to wait for me to have a conversation with Farrakhan and y'all want to know why he had to distance himself from Khalid, there is a brother you can ask who is authorized to give the information freely and openly. And y'all know him as Bobby Hemmitt. Bobby Hemmitt can tell you the real reason Farrakhan was forced to distance himself from Khalid Muhammad, whether we like it or not. I'm not privy to that to tell y'all that. I know the information, and it hurts me when to even think about the information in my brain. Ask Bobby Hemmitt, why did Farrakhan have to distance himself from Khalid Muhammad? And I'm going to leave that at that. So that's the extent of that. And then to wrap this up, everybody who see these men fighting for your people, whether you black, white, Hispanic, or Asian, it does not matter. And you watch this devil ride this man to the ground and that man didn't buckle, in Revelations there's a verse that say, many of you shall be thrown in prison for my name's sake. But fear not. Okay? So they all went to prison. They sitting there. Don't worry about it. Because when they get out, they going to have the best life they could have fucking imagined. They getting out. They getting out. I'm going to get them. And the government already know I'm here. It's not a secret who I am to them. It's only a mystery to y'all because even the adulterous generation seek a sign. But no sign shall be given except the sign of Jonah. Jonah was the reluctant prophet. And out of his reluctance, he went into the belly of the beast. Suffered the afflictions of Job. See, y'all don't read the Bible right because it's not for public dissemination. That's why they put it out in the public domain to confuse you. So these are actually levels of initiation. The reluctant one, the one who say, fuck them, they not going to listen. Fuck them, they not going to listen. Then when you get done going through your afflictions of Job, they call that the dark night of the soul. Look it up. St. John Assisi wrote about it and talked about it. And I think it was another one. I can't think of his name right now. I'll put it in the reference at the end of the video or I'll say it when it comes to me. Anyway, the dark night of the soul is when all the worst shit, Murphy's Law, is in your life. Everything that can go wrong will. Now, there's a reason for that too, but that's another video as well. So the dark night of the soul is the 3 days and 3 nights that Jonah spent in the belly of the beast. Now, they told us that Christ was 3 days in the tomb, and that's what that was. That's not true. You can't add 3 days from Friday to Saturday. I don't care if you cut the days into 12-hour blocks. You can't add 3 days from Friday to Saturday to Sunday morning. That's 2 days. Sunset Friday, all day Saturday, sunrise Sunday. That ain't even a whole 2 days. What they talking about? That's not the sign of Jonah. He wasn't in the tomb for 3 days. The sign of Jonah is the reluctant prophet. The one who tell y'all, I don't want to tell y'all shit because y'all not listening. That's the reluctant one. The one that sat back and watched everything go crazy while everybody is going crazy saying, why they don't just do this? But fuck them, I ain't going to tell them. They got it all figured out already. They don't need my help. So I sit back and watch. Now it's at the point where mama said, okay, baby, you go ahead and you tell them. Tell them. I said, mama, they ain't going to listen. She said, that ain't your job. Your job ain't for them to make them listen. Your job is to give them the message. So here's the message. In this era, going into the age of Aquarius, we are actually and factually writing a new program for existence. Now, these new programs come in glyph form, or what they call sacred geometry. So you'll find children and women especially that cannot stop drawing snowflakes, funny looking symbols, and they don't know what it is. All right, so this is what they call the convergence. It's all coming together now into a single point. Now, at some point in the next probably 2 years, everybody will be on the same page to get rid of the evil except the evil ones. And sometime within that time, and less than 2 years. Because mind you, for me to be able and allowed to tell y'all what I'm telling y'all now, y'all don't have to wait for the Christ no more. We just got to clean the house. I can't clean the house when you have those in the positions that need to go get the house cleaning supplies and bring them to me to clean the house. They don't want to listen. All right? So the house can't get clean. But I'm going to tell y'all this. If the house don't get clean, we got to start over. And we won't be the chosen ones next time. We got to start over. And we won't be the chosen ones next time. We will be replaced with a whole nother species. So, as the late great Stokely Carmichael would say, seize. Oh no, that wasn't Stokely. Was that H. Rap Brown? Seize the time. The time is now. The time is now. It's here. So we got two options. We can sit around, don't do nothing, and die like the rest of them with the wicked. Now, our death with the wicked will not be because we wicked. It was because we was refused to push the fear aside and embrace the. Y'all can hear me once I get. I'm just doing invite. Give me a I'm gonna see if you'll come in this. So let's see. I still don't see you. Trying to get Facebook to give us cooperation. So this video, I'm gonna go ahead and start, right, Jillian, and see if we can get you in here sometimes during the course of the video. And we're gonna be talking about the fear of psychic phenomenon and how to overcome the fear. So as soon as I get a message for Jillian to either dive right into it or to give her a few more minutes, I'll know what to do next and where to go from here. I'm still waiting on her to get in. I'm gonna try again and see what happens, because we had technical difficulties on her end too. Okay, so I'm gonna start off by going into a experience of mine in the psychic arena that gave me a lot of cause for alarm had I not already known what to expect. Last year, 2018, was the first experience that I ever had where I could actually talk to a deceased person that came to me. And I was talking to one of the sisters, Malika, and her grandmother appeared to me. And it was first experience totally outside of my regular experiences and nothing I had ever experienced before in psychic phenomenon. Now, I've been seeing future events, I've been intuitively knowing things since I was a child. Um, Not to talk to people about it because people that don't understand the um, taking place will put labels and tags on you, and that was one of the reasons job wasn't shared with a broader group of people because we already knew, and I had already been told by my big mama that people would try to exploit that. So I had been prepped for the psychic phenomenon that I was experiencing as a child and how to handle it as it came to me. I never seen it outside the norm, so I didn't develop a fear. Normally, what causes a fear is when you don't really understand something, it causes a condition that psychologists call cognitive dissonance. Yeah, that's Facebook. I don't know what these people doing with this video because they're not that Jillian, and then she's saying my voice is muffled. Am I muffled to anybody other than Jillian? Can I get a yes or a no? Because I need to know if I need to keep going or reset the video. Okay. So, let me see if I can ask Jillian a question.